How do you piece together the story of a figure who has shaped nearly every land in the lands between, yet leaves behind only statues and portraits as traces of a presence? At first, uncovering such a mystery might seem impossible, but all it takes is a closer look at certain characters and environmental details, something I have done extensively. And so, welcome to part 1 of our journey into unraveling Marika's past. Marika holds many titles: a Numen, shaman, god, vessel, and above all, an eternal being. However, I see her as a Numen whose beliefs and spiritual practices makes her a shaman. In essence, she is a Numen shaman who discovered the secrets of godhood and ultimately ascended as a deity. While direct information about her form of physical appearance post the scene at the gate of divinity is scarce, the game offers a wealth of subtle clues that allows us to glimpse Marika's life before her divine transformation. One of the first threads to follow is the spirit tuner Rodrika. We first encounter her in a small shed near Stormvale Castle, where she hands the tarnished a spirit ash, allowing them to summon a jellyfish for aid in battle. Later, Rodrika moves to the Round Table Hold, establishing a spirit tuning shop where the tarnished can strengthen spirit ashes using ghost gloveworth. Interestingly, the smithing master Hugh plays a key role in convincing Rodrika of her spirit tuning abilities. In a dialogue with Hugh, he mentions a young girl to whom he is indebted, a girl whose eyes bear the same hue as Rodrika's.
I saw another one like her long ago. Their eyes share the same hue.
Given Hugh's duty to forge a god-slaying blade for Marika's tarnished, it is tempting to assume he was referring to Marika herself. However, since Marika's eyes remain unseen, hesitation in drawing this conclusion is understandable. Other clues within Rodrika's appearance may help solidify this connection. Examining her dress reveals an intricate vine pattern, a motif found in several locations across the lands between. One such place is the Queen's Chamber in the royal capital, where a similar pattern appears on the veil surrounding the space. Though cryptic, I believe this chamber belongs to Marika, given that she casts a similar veil over the land of shadow, and that the chamber sits in close proximity to the air tree, a symbol of authority tied directly to her. Another instance of this floral motif appears in Farum Azula. Beneath the depiction of the Elden Ring, we see a young girl surrounded by 3 wolves, her dress adorned with the same vine pattern. Who is she? Considering that this scene is located in the same arena where we face Guarang or Malekith, an entity bound to Marika, it is likely that she is Marika. Above her, a version of the Elden Ring is depicted, conspicuously missing the rune of destined death, an omission for which Marika herself is responsible. Given these details, it is reasonable to conclude that the young girl is none other than Marika. before she attained godhood. If the young girl depicted in Farum Azula is indeed Marika, then what significance do the wolves surrounding her hold? This question led me to uncover some fascinating possibilities. A striking parallel exists within the same location. A statue of a woman holding a small child. This imagery draws inspiration from a real-world statue in Notre Dame, France, depicting the Virgin Mary and the infant Jesus. Initially, the placement of such a statue in Farum Azula seemed perplexing, but upon recognizing the young girl among the wolves, the connections began to emerge. These elements may be influenced by the Holy Mother of Ruins, also known as the Divine Mother with Wolves. Polish folklore offers insight into this figure. Within rural traditions associated with winter, the Holy Mother is seen as both a protector of people and a caretaker of wolves. She ensures they do not pose a threat to human settlement, while simultaneously watching over them. This dual role is captured in imagery where she holds a tender candle, Rodrika, earning her the title, the one of the tender candle with wolves. While the Farum Azula statue lacks a candle, lit candles rest beneath the image. Additionally, given that Farum Azula is deeply tied to dragons wielding lightning incantations, one could argue that there is a connection to lightning and by extension, thunder. An even more compelling aspect of this mythology is its root in a blend of ancient Slavic ritual and Christian traditions. The Holy Mother of Ruins is closely associated with Candlemas, celebrated on February 2nd, and traces of her legend reveals potential ties to the Slavic goddess Devana. Revered as a deity of youth, wild nature, forests, hunting, and the moon, Devana was deeply connected to untamed species and primal forces. Over time, elements of her worship merged with Christian narratives. A particularly intriguing parallel exists between Devana and Marika. Devana set out to conquer other gods, yet her ambitions were ultimately thwarted due to conflicts with her father. In a similar vein, Marika embarked on a quest to overthrow the deities that presided over various territories in the lands between. This shared theme of divine conquest suggests that Marika may embody a transformed version of Devana, one who eventually evolved into the Holy Mother of Grumnis. Thus, Marika may have started as a shaman, drawing influence from the spiritual practices of worship of Devana, and eventually transformed into the Christian faith-based virtues we associate her with. We will explore this transformation in greater depth in part 2, but for now, let's put a pin in this thread. The girl surrounded by 3 wolves also features a distinct floral vine woven into her hair, an adornment commonly associated with the Carians or moon folk. This motif appears elsewhere, such as the witch's glintstone crown acquired during Selen's quest. and Relane's helmet, which bears a similar floral design. The Carian's affinity for wolves is undeniable. Renala summons them during battle, and Rani gifts the tarnished a spirit bell alongside wolf ashes. Even more compelling is the resemblance between the snots of the three wolves surrounding the girl and the snots of Radagon's red wolves. This strengthens the argument that the statue in Farum Azula depicts Marika, given that Marika and Radagon are fundamentally intertwined. My working theory is that the Numen race was a group deeply tied to the worship of wild nature, forests, hunting, and the moon, mirroring the reverence given to the Slavic goddess Devana. Their beliefs likely embraced a matriarchal system, giving their lunar devotion, which symbolizes feminine energy. I also propose that the Numen practiced necromancy and came to view all living beings as souls or spirits inhabiting vessels. Their mastery of necromantic arts might have led them to experiment with extending life by transferring their essence from one vessel to another. Thus, the distinctions among different branches of the Numen race may stem from the nature of the vessels their souls occupied. While these theories may seem purely speculative, there is compelling evidence to support it. First, let's examine the Numen connection to nature, forests, and the moon. Marika, a Numen herself, has strong ties to the shaman village, an area richly adorned with vegetation. The floors of the village are covered with lush plant life, reinforcing their deep affinity with nature. In close proximity to the shaman village, bears wander near a small body of water, further emphasizing their coexistence with the wild. Even more striking is the shaman grandmother, whose form appears to be merging with plant life itself. These details suggest that the Numen race maintained a harmonious relationship with nature, particularly plants. Regarding necromancy, we have already established the connection between Marika, the young girl in Farum Azula, surrounded by wolves, and Rodrika. Since Rodrika is a spirit tuner, it is reasonable to infer that Marika, as a Numen, shares similar abilities. The moon connection is evident in the women of the Eternal Cities, rumored to be Numen with direct ties to Marika. If the Black Knife assassins from these cities originate from the Numen race, then the link to lunar worship becomes even clearer. Nokron and Nokstella, two eternal cities, contain numerous moon-related items, highlighting their association with celestial forces. Even Marika's chamber in the royal capital features a stone bed shaped like a half moon. Intriguingly, the floral pattern around the bed consists of smaller circles, 8 visible ones, a number frequently used to depict the phases of the moon. While an argument could be made that there are 16 circles in total, it seems deliberate that the game developers chose to highlight only 8. One might assume that the women of Nokron and Nokstella lack a connection to plant life. Yet, a closer examination of their cryptic thrones tell a different story. The chair crypts in Nokron and Noxtella, as well as the one in Celia, feature plant motifs. Some of the floral patterns closely resemble those seen on Marika's veil in the royal capital and her statue in Farum Azula. Additionally, all chair crypts in these locations are in close proximity to branches, leaves, or plant roots, reinforcing the idea that the Numen race maintained a deep bond with plant life and nature. It is possible that the ancestral followers, often referred to as shamans, were placed near the Eternal City to hint at the Numen race's connection to shamanistic practices, long before the reveal in the shadow of the Air Tree. If so, we may have had all the clues to decipher the Numen long before the expansion was released. Now, let's refocus on Marika, the Numen shaman. As previously speculated, the Numen possessed sacred knowledge of souls, spirits, and their need for vessels. With this understanding, they likely sought ways to create vessels for their own souls, extending their lifespan. This pursuit would also lead them to discover methods of trapping other souls within chosen vessels. Through this experimentation, Marika's people may have realized that their flesh, their earthly vessel, originates from amber, a crystallized form of plant resins. This particular group of Numen can be referred to as the Woodfolk, the same people identified as shamans in the land of shadow. This connection helps explain their traditions of tree burial, ensuring that flesh derived from trees would return to its source. The shaman grandmother giving a tree burial in the land of shadow demonstrates this practice. The idea being that her soul could escape her body, allowing her flesh to reunite with the tree. This leads to a deeper understanding of why the Hunsent placed shamans into jars. Initially, it seemed that the Hunsent were attempting to transform the shamans into something else. However, upon closer examination, it becomes evident that shaman flesh was merely a necessary material rather than the true object of transformation. Shaman flesh derives from tree resin or amber, acts as a binding agent for the various substances the Hunsent placed in jars. Further supporting this idea are the giant ants found in the nameless Eternal City, creatures that drop Numen runes, signifying their ingestion of Numen remains. Research into real-world wood ants suggests that these creatures actively collect plant resin, mixing it with formic acid to create antimicrobial compounds. This mirrors the way the giant ants in the nameless Eternal City may produce formic rock. By blending their formic acid with shaman flesh, which itself is composed of tree resin. More evidence linking shaman flesh to trees appear in the symbols adorning the foreheads of the shamans trapped within jars in the land of shadow. These markings resemble a tree anchored to the earth or possibly a rune arc. Similar tree-based patterns can be seen on the reverted wooden shield, which describes both a tree and a sword. Additionally, a comparable tree and rune motif is present in the battlefield cookbooks. The women of the Windmill Village likely belong to the Numen Woodfolk as well. Just south of the village lies the Woodfolk Ruins, and the pink-hued flowers decorating the ruins match those found within the village itself. Enemies within the ruins drop items imbued with golden runes. Even more revealing is how some of these women stand guard near the entrance to the ruins. Perhaps they abandoned the area due to the presence of worm faces. This leads to another theory. Runes originate from the flesh of the dead, and for some unknown reason, Numen Woodfolk appear to be obsessed with runes. If their amber-like flesh derives from a mixture of pinkish and golden-hued plant resin, then death may be the only way to release these runes, explaining why the Windmill Village has strong associations with golden runes. The Windmill Village women's practice of skinning people may tie into this concept, possibly as a method of rune extraction. I believe that long ago, a vast and ancient tree mentioned in various game items, as well as a video by scam mage Infa, served as the source from which the Numen wood folk derived their amber flesh. This tree's immense root system spread beneath the eternal cities and possibly across the entirety of the lands between. Regardless of where the Numen resided, they needed only to locate one of its subterranean roots to perform their tree burial, allowing their flesh to return to its source. However, at some point, something happened to the great tree, severing the Numen from this ritual and by extension, cutting them off from the process of receiving new flesh or vessels. In response, the Air Tree was created, an attempt to reconstruct the great tree. Yet, Marika made distinct choices, shaping the Air Tree, ones that rendered it unsuitable for the original Numen burial traditions. This crucial distinction marks a turning point in her story, and we will delve deeper into those choices in part 2. So, let's put a pin in the great tree and Earth tree connection for now. So far, we have laid the groundwork for Marika's ties to the Numen wood folk, beings whose flesh originate from crystallized plant resin, known as amber. Understanding these revelations is essential for grasping the full scope of Marika's backstory. Everything explored in this segment forms the foundation of our journey into her history, which we will continue in part 2. In the next chapter, we will trace Marika's path through the land of shadow, the critical choices she made to achieve godhood, the resulting division among the Numen seen in the eternal cities, and the eventual formation of the Air Tree. There is much more to uncover, so stay tuned as we continue unraveling Marika's story.